Good evening and welcome to the April 10th Penfield Town Board Legislative Meeting. Councilwoman Lee, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Candace. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please read the roll call?
Barry is absent. Lee?
Present.
Leenhouts?
Present.
Ockenden?
Present.
And Teglash is absent.
Yeah, I just want to mention Linda had a work commitment. I think she'll be here a little bit late, hopefully by 7 o'clock. And then Kevin's traveling for work and will not be here tonight, so I just wanted to mention that. At this time, I'm going to ask Kathy Cummings and the members of the Penfield Food Shelf to join us up front, please. So you could, right where you are is probably good.
They left you hanging.
Don't leave her alone up there. Come on.
I'll come up there. I still count.
Joe, you count. Our clerk, Amy Steckloff, in a moment. Amy's going to read a proclamation.
Okay. Today we're honoring a dedicated community volunteer, Kathy Cummings. Whereas Kathy Cummings is retiring after 27 years of
Mr.
service.
Supervisor, we need a microphone.
A mic, Amy?
You know what I can do?
There you go.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
This is honoring a dedicated community volunteer, Kathy Cummings. Whereas Kathy Cummings is retiring after 27 years of service with the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf. And whereas Kathy founded the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf along with Joe Gerzitz and Ted O'Brien in April of 1997. And whereas over the years the organization has continued to grow, broadening its incredible impact on the Penfield community. And whereas the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf now serves roughly 200 families weekly. And whereas Kathy has served the organization in various capacities, including as community liaison, working with schools, businesses, organizations, and individuals to make donations of food, money, and volunteers. And whereas, along with her duties at the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf, Kathy has volunteered her time and expertise with numerous other local organizations and made a tremendous impact on the community. And whereas Kathy is a valuable member of the Penfield community, and her work is an example of the tremendous impact one person can have on a community. And now therefore be it resolved that the Penfield Town Board extends its deepest gratitude and thanks to Kathy for all she has done for Penfield throughout her decades of volunteer service. Dated April 10th, 2024, signed by Jeff Leenhouts, Supervisor, and Kevin Barry, Councilman, Candace Lee, Councilwoman, Bob Ockenden, Councilman, and Linda Teglash, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Amy. It brings back a memory, and I think I mentioned this, but the first board I was ever on was the Center for Youth, and I think it was 15, maybe 20 years ago. I think you were there 17 years ago, you said? Yeah. Sorry. At this time, I'm going to ask that not Kathy Cummings, yes. Karen Eyrig, I'm sorry, for her 2 decades of service, we want to present the certificate of recognition for her service at the Penfield Food Shelf as well. Amy? Sorry, Karen.
So this is a certificate of recognition to Karen Eyrig on behalf of the Penfield Town Board. And it states, Jeff, would you like to read it?
Oh, go ahead. You're on a roll.
It reads, I, Jeff Leenhouts, Town Supervisor, do hereby present this certificate of recognition to Karen Eyrig for her decades of service to the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf. Since 2012, Karen Eyrig has been an integral part of the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf. During her years of service, she has served as a liaison to FoodLink and food coordinator. The Town of Penfield is proud to recognize Karen for her efforts as she retires from her service with the organization. Thank you, Karen. Dated April 10th, 2024. Signed by Jeff Leenhouts, Town Supervisor, and Kevin Berry, Candace Lee, Bob Ockenden, and Linda Teglash, all council persons to the town board.
Thank you. And thank you to all the board members for being here, and thanks for what you do. I know your needs increasing, and you do a great job. I see you working every day when I drive by. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have Mary Beth Mueller and the Daughter of the American Revolution. Mary Fellows, Penfield Chapter. Join us up front, please. Councilman Ockenden will read the proclamation. Bob?
Thank you. Whereas the Daughters of the American Revolution, Mary Fellows Penfield Chapter, was founded April 13th, 1974. And whereas this month, the Mary Fellows Penfield Chapter is proudly celebrating 50 years of service to the Penfield community. And the organization, which has chapters throughout the United States, is volunteer women's service organization dedicated to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and securing America's future through better education for children. And whereas the Penfield chapter is named after Mary Fellows Penfield, the daughter of General John Fellows, an aide on the staff of General George Washington. She was the wife of Daniel Penfield, a commissary clerk during the Revolution, and for whom the town of Penfield was named. And whereas the legacy of the town of Penfield owes gratitude to both Daniel and Mary Fellows Penfield as their lives demonstrate the courage to move west and establish a community built on grit and dedication to the preservation of our America, liberty, and freedom. And whereas the members of the Penfield chapter are actively helping to preserve this history along with involvement in the Penfield community, including supporting local veterans and active service members. Now therefore, the Penfield Town Board is proud to recognize Mary Fellows Penfield chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And this proclamation is signed by Supervisor Jeff Leenhouts, Councilman Kevin Berry, Councilwoman Candace Lee, myself, Bob Ockenden, and Councilwoman Linda Teglash. Thank you.
Also, we're celebrating on Sunday at the Penfield Ambulance. If anyone would like to join us at 3 o'clock, it's open to the public, and the town historian will be there talking about the Penfield family.
Great, great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. So I just want to make a few remarks before you. Well, this is one of my remarks, I think. Let me see here, if I'm in the order. Yeah, these are my brush drop-off remarks quickly. Although we typically address agenda changes later in the agenda, I want to take a moment as part of the communication and announcements to note the item 24T-91 on tonight's agenda has been withdrawn by the town board. The resolution would have permitted an intermunicipal agreement with Monroe County for town's proposed temporary use of county-owned property at 7075 Kennedy Road. This agreement related to a temporary town brush drop-off site during the anticipated construction of our new Department of Public Works facility that expected to begin this summer. We've chosen not to vote on this resolution this evening and to allow further time to review of concerns, a lot of concerns we received this past week. We are evaluating the information while receiving, continue to explore other options for keeping this brush service drop-off alive. As the process moves forward, we'll continue to keep in touch with all the residents and let them know what's happening. Town Board's committed to finding some resolution or an alternate site to keep this service that town currently provides. And with that, we'll move on to other communications and announcements my fellow town board members have for tonight's meeting. Now we continue with the communications and announcements, and I'll start with the town clerk, Ms. Teglash.
Thank you, Supervisor Leenhouts. The Shepherd Home, located at 1959 5 Mile Line Road in Penfield, has been providing comfort and compassionate care to members of our community with terminal illness since 2005. The Shepherd Home supports more than 1,000 people annually. No fees are charged to those receiving care. All operating expenses are covered through donations and fundraising efforts. So the Shepherd Home has announced their annual Spring Gala fundraiser to be held at 6 p.m. on Friday, May 3rd at Casa Larga Vineyards in Fairport. For more information, please call Debbie Shabeta at 585-381-0890 or email her at dshabeta@shepherdhome.org. You can find detailed information about the Shepherd Home and about this gala fundraiser on their website at www.shepherdhome.org. That's it.
It's a great event. I hope to be there. Okay, Councilman Ockenden, please.
Thank you. I do have several. We'll start with guided scenic trek. Attention nature lovers, don't miss out on the upcoming guided hike at Thousand Acre Swamp, led by the Penfield Trails Committee. This will take place on April 13th at 10 a.m. Explore the beautiful woods, meadows, and ponds, and learn about spring, nature, and animal signs from our knowledgeable guide. This event is free, but registration is required. Please visit the Penfield Rec's website at www.penfieldrec.org, or you can contact them by phone at 340-8655 to reserve your spot today. Keep an eye out on the trails. Keep an eye out for the Trails Committee hike signs, as the hike will begin at the rear of the Penfield Ambulance Building on Jackson Road.
Thanks, Bob.
I've got a few more to go here. So next is the Moon Over Buffalo. The Penfield Players' spring performance of Moon Over Buffalo by Ken Ludwig will open at the end of the month for 7 performances at the Penfield Community Center. Shows will begin at 8 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, April 26th and 27th, as well as May 3, 4, 10, and 11. There will be a matinee performance on Sunday, May 4th. Advanced tickets can be purchased through the Penfield Rec office online at penfieldplayers.org or the night of the performance. And it's that time of year for the Town of Penfield's annual Memorial Day essay contest. Attention all teachers and students of Penfield, it's time to start writing for the Town of Penfield's annual Memorial Day essay contest. The essay topic is, how are you inspired by America? All students grades 6 through 8 in all Penfield schools who are Penfield residents and are invited to submit essays to compete in the contest. The top 3 entries will receive cash awards. In addition to the cash prize, the 3 winners will read their work as part of the Town of Penfield's Memorial Day ceremony and remembrance on Monday, May 27th at Veterans Memorial Park. Submission details and entry forms can be viewed at www.penfield.org. The deadline to enter is May 3rd. This contest is sponsored by the Town of Penfield and supported by the American Legion Bremen Post 1229. And lastly, Good Neighbor Day. Volunteers needed. Penfield residents, mark your calendars for the 10th annual Terry Rothfuss Memorial Good Neighbor Day on Saturday, May 4th from 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. We are seeking volunteers of all ages to help older adults, veterans, and those who are disabled to do light yard work and spring cleanup. It's a great way to give back to the community and meet new people. If you or someone you know needs help with yard work or you would like to volunteer, please email Sabrina Renner at our Recreation Department, srenner@penfield.org, or you can contact her by phone at 340-8655 to request assistance. And again, more information is available at penfield.org/events. And that is all.
Thanks, Bob. You got quite a few there. Great job.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lee, please.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. I have a couple safety reminders. As the weather gets warmer and spring is here, it's important to use caution both as a pedestrian and drivers alike when sharing the road. Please, if you're a pedestrian, unplug your devices or consider lowering the sound so that you can avoid distractions while walking, and of course for drivers to be alert for pedestrians and exercising caution. For fire safety, it's a reminder to residents that there is no open burning in the town of Penfield. This includes leaves, brush, construction debris, garbage, and rubbish of any kind. Recreational fires are permitted, and you can only use seasoned firewood and for recreational purposes only. In anticipation of, or in celebration of Arbor Day, the town of Penfield is hosting 2 events. On Saturday, April 20th, the first from 10 to noon at Penfield Community Center. There will be a native shrub giveaway. Everyone is invited to attend for a free shrub giveaway, and this will include northern bayberry and red osier dogwood seedings. The giveaway is on a first come and first served basis while supplies last. No advance registration is required. This event is also being sponsored by the town's Energy and Environmental Conservation Committee. The town is also hosting the Drive Electric Earth Day event, same day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Penfield Community Center. The New York State Electric Auto Association members will be present as well, featuring a wide variety of electric vehicles and displaying. Those interested in displaying their own EV as part of the show can register online as well. More information is on the Penfield website. Thank you.
Thanks, Candace. They only let me have one announcement, so this will be easy. So I just want to highlight one of our staff today, Elise Voigt. She's one of our town court clerks. She's an assistant to Judge Paula Metzler. She oversees the administrative responsibilities of the court. She began as a part-time employee with the Town of Penfield, the courts, in 2013. Elise accepted a position as court clerk in 2015. She was promoted to chief clerk in 2018. In her current role, Elise assists the Honorable Paula Metzler preparing the court calendar and during court proceedings with opening case files, preparing court documents, and reporting disposition information to the Department of Motor Vehicles and Division of Criminal Justice Services. She also oversees the administrative responsibilities of the court. To prepare her career, Elise attended the Munner Community College and received a degree through the Paralegal Studies program there. And just want to congratulate Elise and a big thank you to her and everything she does for the town and for the courts. So thanks to Elise. So this first on the agenda this evening, we have a public information session about sidewalks around our community. And Director Mark Valentine, will you please lead the discussion? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So tonight's input session is one opportunity for the public to provide input on sidewalk connections within the town. We do this annually, typically do it in the spring of each year. So tonight is an opportunity to come in person if you'd like to share your thoughts and comments. If you're not here tonight watching at home, obviously we still take them off through the website. You can email engineer@penfield.org with your suggestions, call, send a letter in, whatever means or method works best for you to provide your suggestions. So every year, the board takes the input from the public. We'll discuss it at a future work session, discuss the locations. Obviously, we get a lot of requests, money more than what we have dollars for. So if you suggest it, and just because we're not doing it this year or this next year, it's not that it wasn't valuable or it wasn't a great connection. Obviously, there's budgetary constraints with that. But for tonight, I don't know if anybody has signed up. If the clerk can call up people, please come up, share your thoughts, your locations you'd like us to consider. We'll compile those, come back with a compiled list for the board, put them on a map, kind of show where they are, what the connection locations are, and then work with the board to discuss those. And then to provide a little timeline, I'm sorry, I kind of jumped ahead. These we're looking at for 2025 sidewalks. So as we're talking about it, we sit in April, the board discusses it, may decide, come May or June. The board then authorizes us to, move ahead with getting survey. So says, go out and get survey of that area, that takes, through the summer. Then our staff works on the design through the fall and the winter, works with the, if it's Monroe County DOT, state DOT, whichever roadway it's on. And then come 2025, hopefully we have all our permitting in place, we'd be then ready to, install sidewalks. So suggestions tonight, we're looking already at 2025 for those sidewalk installation locations.
Okay.
I have Jim Vallone as our first speaker.
Hey, Jim.
Hello.
Just pick one of the tables. Just pick which one you like.
Just mention your name and your address again. You got it, Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim Vallone, 66 Jackson Road Extension. I've lived in Penfield on Jackson Road Extension for 15 years. I have here 10 minutes of notes that I'm going to try to cut down because nobody wants to hear me talk for 10 minutes. How I could give you a master class in how not to build a road by looking at Jackson Road Extension. There's a curve. It's overly wide. The shoulder is meant for people to be walking on and for bicyclists, and instead cars are driving on the shoulder of the road regularly, crossing over the fog lines. And because Penfield does not have a police force, the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on Jackson Road Extension is moot. I see cars going at speeds well over 45 miles an hour, especially during rush hour traffic. I've already extended the invitation to Jeff. Candace and Bob and anybody else that wants to is welcome to come and walk, to knock on my door at rush hour, and I will walk the road with you, and you can see the horrendous driving on Jackson Road Extension. You guys, the town of Penfield has added over 200 houses along the Jackson Road and Jackson Road Extension corridor in the last 25 years. We have sidewalks that start nowhere and go to nowhere. There are 26 houses not served by sidewalks, and that is where we have to walk in traffic. We have to walk in traffic regularly seeing cars coming at you, driving on the shoulder at illegal speeds. Cars driving 5 feet away from you with rain-whipped spray from those vehicles. Imagine trying to navigate on foot in the dark with no lighting because Penfield has not improved its infrastructure for its more rural days. And I look around at all these photographs and all these drawings here of our rural days, and we're well beyond those rural days, and we have to face the fact that it's time to connect all of the major roads with sidewalks. It's an embarrassment to this town. In June 26, 2023, Monroe County announced an incentive program to pay 50% of the cost of town sidewalk installation to encourage more pedestrian-friendly environment. Penfield is 9 months late just getting to the front door of the sale. Now, we're 9 months out today from when that announcement was made, and we're just now talking about sidewalks for a year from now. Jackson Road Extension, the shoulder is crumbling. It's difficult to walk on. You need to have one leg 2 inches longer than the other because the road has been repaved so many times that there's a crown, and it's difficult to walk on. We have cars, I'm going to repeat myself, there are cars driving over the fog lines. It's a very dangerous situation. So I'm going to close with this. Protection does not mean creating laws and codes which go unenforced. Protection sometimes means spending money on improving infrastructure rather than new developments. Protect your constituents, your taxpayers, your citizens. Guarantee pedestrian safety by either strict and consistent enforcement of the speed limits where there are no sidewalks, or connect all the dead-end sidewalks which are an embarrassment to the town, and begin by connecting the sidewalks to nowhere on unsafe Jackson Road Extension. In 2022, Columbus Crossing, you put 200 feet of sidewalk, and you announced it in November as if it was the crowning glory of municipal achievement. And we did not need a sidewalk there when there are thousands of cars speeding down Jackson Road Extension every day. I'm not saying that pedestrians aren't being served by that sidewalk. There are better places to spend your money. In closing, This being entered into public record, the town has now been notified of an ongoing and unchecked dangerous condition on Jackson Road extension. Should anyone be injured by this dangerous condition, town leadership has no legal claim of ignorance, and facing subsequent legal action, Penfield will be defenseless if there is absent or ineffective remediation. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Mr. Filone, I see that you try to condense a lot of those notes. If that's a spare copy, I'll ask Mr. Valentine to take a copy
How about
of
if I
that.
email you one?
Okay, that's fine.
You're not going to read the handwriting on here either, but sure.
That's fine. I just want to be respectful and try to take as much of your feedback into consideration. So,
Come for a walk with me.
I am very familiar with Jackson Extension because my good friend lives on that road as well. So I understand what you're describing, but I'm happy to, again, along with the board, take into to read the two-page statement there. So if you get a copy to Mr. Valentine, he can circulate to the board.
I will email it to you tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No rush. We'll be here all night. All right. Have a good one. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Good to see you.
Frank Affronti.
How you doing, Frank?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So, hi everybody. I am a recent transplant to Penfield. I grew up out east of Rochester. I guess I'll start. My name is Frank Affronti. I live at 47 Ariana Way. It's a new house in the Rocco Pines development down the street. And I recently moved back for that opportunity to build a house in Penfield from Denver. And when I moved back, I was like somewhat surprised and elated and excited about the prospect of living in a town like Penfield because of the beautiful parks and access to things that you didn't have in the areas that I grew up in, like rural New York and in Ontario. But this beautiful park is a classic example of a park that's inaccessible to multimodal means of transportation and human infrastructure. The only way to walk to this town hall or to the park is if you live across the street from it. We have sidewalks that leave this park in both directions, both on Jackson and on Atlantic, but they're both dead ends. So the main proposal that I'd like to present, and I've emailed a very thorough proposal to Mark ahead of time, is from Weybridge Court, which is on Jackson Road, to Penfield Center Road, which is where the sidewalk leaving this facility leaves. I live less than 1 mile away from this facility. It's less than a 30-minute walk, but you can't come here by foot. You can't come here really. I wouldn't recommend coming here on bike either, but you can only come here by car. If I asked the room of people how they got here, I would guess that over 90% of them came here in cars. So to quote the New York State BD tabulations, it's where New York State publishes the bid results for public improvement projects for Region 4, which is Rochester. That would cost roughly $180,000 for that 0.6 miles. That's less than 10% of a single year of tax revenue from the Rocco Pines development, and that would give well over 500 Penfield residents access to this park by foot, so multimodal transportation to get here, and you could do so without cars. And how does that fit into Penfield's master plan? So Penfield has stated that they have a master plan for their sidewalks. On the town website, it references main arterial roads, so predominantly Jackson Road, Plank Road, and 250 are named. So how does this fit in? I would suggest like a secondary development of sidewalks that would fit into this on Atlantic. If you added 1.4 miles of additional sidewalk from that section to connect Atlantic from this park end to the East Side YMCA, you would then have a stretch of sidewalk that connects all the way to the intersection at 441, and you'd have a wealth of resources. So to name a few of those things that now you would have access to, if you just made this 0.6, you would now have well over 500 residents of Penfield to have access to the Chinese Christian Church, to Thousand Acre Swamp, to the town hall, all of the softball fields here. In addition, if you made that 1.4 extra, you would now have all of 441. There's now Rothfuss Park. You'd have the YMCA and multiple daycare centers. So one concern for a lot of people is people with single-car households. We only have one car. It's the way of the future is to not have cars, but one car is a little bit better than two. So if you have one person that works in your household and the other person staying home, you can't leave the house. You're essentially kind of prisoner there. These sidewalks would be a lifeline for anyone that's stuck inside, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a better example of more bang for your buck than 0.6 miles of sidewalk that already have a start, already have an end. It would just be connecting to current dead-end sidewalks. And yeah, that would be my suggestion. If I were to add one other thing to that, because I did try to walk here, and it wasn't super successful, and I do this run quite frequently to the park. Along the sides of the roads, we typically do sprays for the bushes and such things like that to kind of mitigate the edges of the roadways. And since moving back, I've noticed, and anyone who has been paying attention to the ecology locally, there's a tremendous uptick in invasive species along our roadways and our shoulders, especially within the park. If you were to walk the park and loop, you would see really overrun examples of honeysuckle bush and oriental bittersweet, which are two invasive species that were brought over within the last decade and have overtaken. And in addition to those two invasive species, the reason why I peg those ones as what I would like to see addressed along our roadways and along our trails is because the honeysuckle bush is the preferred breeding ground for ticks. So where you see an uptick in tick populations, it usually comes with the honeysuckle bush. So along our walkways in this park, you're seeing thousands of bushes. And if you walk these trails to where we have campsites, especially days like today and yesterday where it's warm in the spring, I guarantee you're going to leave that site with ticks on your body. It's just kind of the way that it goes. There is services to get rid of these invasive species. And yeah, that's all I had for tonight. Thank you guys. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. No,
I don't think so. I learned something every day, and you taught me something, so I appreciate that, Frank.
Yeah, of course. Happy to help. And hopefully it gets on the docket for 2025. I know there's been a lot of people that are clamoring for sidewalks all over the place.
I get it.
So I get it. There's a wait list, but
Yeah.
I'll be back. I'm excited to take part in the town and in the town prospects. I look around and I see a lot of people that are happy to be here, so it's good.
They're all thrilled.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Welcome home, Frank.
stick around.
Ned Benson.
How you doing?
Good. What's my name again? Or? You got it?
Yeah.
Please. Yeah, name and address, please.
Ned Benson, 108 Harwood Circle. I'd like to first say thank you to Mr. Valentine for returning my call this morning, or actually this afternoon. I live at right where there's a right-of-way from Harwood onto the Shadow Pines, and so they're in the process of putting a sewer down through there. So the first thing I would like to say, it would have been nice maybe to get a notice that they're going to be digging up the side yard. I know it's town right away, but the thing is that the lady that we bought the house from built the house, and she maintained part of the property. The neighbors on the other side maintained the other half. We've been there 9 years. We've maintained the same half. So for over 60 years, the two people that live on each side have maintained the property. Town's never done anything, cut the grass or anything. My point is, it's kind of funny that we're having a discussion about sidewalks, and everybody wants sidewalks, and I'm here to ask not to put in a sidewalk. I know the proposal that I heard about is that it's supposed to be an 8-foot wide stone path, and I know they've already started them coming in off of Atlantic Avenue. The thing is that the property being residential with the houses, I don't really want a 590 feeder ramp coming through my side yard. So if there has to be a path, I'd like to see it be as narrow as possible. This sidewalk, I know they put in a little sidewalk at the end of Huntington Meadow onto the golf course, and it's only a standard, sidewalk, whatever, 4 foot wide or whatever. The other thing is on Atlantic Avenue, there's a sidewalk. They came in off of that. That's a standard size sidewalk, and now they put this big 8 foot wide stone path in. Around the course, the loop and all that, maybe I could see where the paths would be nice and wide, because I know they do the skiing and running and things like that. But this path that goes through the yard, I would like to see it, I'd really like to see nothing. I mean, the people that live in the neighborhood, Clark Road, Hilltop Road, I can never remember the name of the street.
Skyview?
Neither can I.
Skyview, thank you. Skyview, they all know that they have the right to be able to walk through there, and people come down and walk through. Actually, once the town took over the property and it started growing up, my wife actually cut the path going out to the cart path on the golf course, and so we maintained the path for people to walk on. And the town has come through and mowed everything down and, kept it low, but we actually maintained the path going all the way out to the trails. So what I'm asking is that consider trying to make, if it has to go in, could I get something like a 4 foot wide path at the most? Just something simple for the people, but I really would like to see none at all. The road has curbs, so there was never a curb cut or anything for like a street stub, even though I know that's what it was. But the curb goes right straight down the road. So, I don't know if the town ever planned on putting a street in, and I was hoping, I'd like to see it stay as, green as possible.
Mark, do you know where he is exactly? Because I can't picture it.
Yes, I talked to Mr. Benson earlier this morning.
Okay.
Or this afternoon. So this is part of the approved Shadow Pines development project. So as far as the pickleball was connecting to Atlantic Avenue, was connecting over to Harwood to increase pedestrian connectivity from the side streets. So his neighborhood always had a stub. We still own a right-of-way, 60-foot wide right-of-way that was never built. So the thought was, back when that was developed, that it may develop where Shadow Pines is now as another neighborhood. So we own a right-of-way through there. So as part of the Shadow Pines proposal was to provide a stone dust pedestrian connection over to Harwood, so those neighbors would have an easier access point into the park.
So through the park, not up through Atlantic and down, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
It would tie into one of the existing,
Paths?
was a golf cart path in the past, but would connect into
Is that-
into the west.
So basically, it was hole 5 on the golf course originally. And so the right-of-way goes between our house and I think number 100, basically right down the center. And then there were boulders there at the property line, and people would just walk through. And like I said, my wife has been cutting the path from our property line out to the cart path that's on the original golf course, so people know where to walk. And so it's never been a problem for anybody. People walk down the street, and they know, like, right at our mailbox is where the trail sort of starts, and they just cut up through between the two houses. So nobody's ever had a problem cutting through. But I just don't want an 8 foot wide road going up through there if I don't have to.
Okay.
Mark, did you say it's slated right now for stone dust? Is that what you're indicating, not concrete?
Correct.
So what are your thoughts on that, if it's stone versus no?
Like I said, I would like to see it stay like
As
it
is.
is green, and I'll keep cutting it, and people are welcome to walk. I mean, that's the thing. It's like the people seem to know that it's there. from all the neighborhoods, people come walking up, we see people with their dogs all the time, and they know that they can go through there. Like I said, we maintain basically half, and the neighbors on the other side have maintained the other half. It's always mowed. The leaves are raked and everything, but the people know that they can walk through, and so I would just like to, my ultimate choice would be to have it go back to grass, and I'll just keep mowing it and taking care of it, and people have the right to come. And but if it has to have a path, I would like it as small as possible.
Got it.
Like I said, nobody seems to have an issue of finding it and walking through, so it's not like they're knocking at our door saying, can I cut through here? But they just know it's there, so.
Okay, well, thank you. Anybody, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
very much.
Tim Murphy?
How we doing, Tim?
How are you, Mr. Supervisor?
Good.
Town Board? Everyone? Tim Murphy, 48 Corral Drive, lived in Penfield for 37 years, was a member of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for 12 years, and chaired the Bicycle Master Plan back in 2007 and 2008. So a couple of my comments kind of dovetail with all of that. But first, I had a couple of questions, and sorry, I'm going to read from my notes. As I get older, I can't recall everything. The project list for this year, Mark, how did it come to be that the primary versus all of the requests? How did the primary project rise to the top?
Those were voted on by the town board. I believe it was actually carried over from 2023. So we had a similar conversation to this. Came back, the board discussed it in a work session, and those are the sidewalks that they chose to move forward with.
Okay. So I assume that in that conversation it was rich with, what the benefits are. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay, great, thanks. The second, we talked offline not too long ago about the availability and cost of concrete as being a big item for these kind of projects. The Bill Stadium, I guess, is using a lot of concrete, throughout the communities. Is that an ongoing issue for the rest of the year, and will that influence the implementation?
We'll see for this year, but the past 2 years, getting concrete has been difficult. Even the concrete companies, we have Heinz Concrete on contract. They've had difficulties getting concrete and actually got their own concrete truck to try to make it more readily available. So it's been whether a supply chain issue or what do you want to call it, but the actual concrete itself has been an issue to get that.
Okay. And my next comment just was about trails, sidewalks, byways. The gentleman before me was talking about the stone dust. So permeable versus impermeable surfaces. I know there's some challenges there, and concrete probably holds up better than most other materials. But is it worth a fresh look? Is there anything there that we should be contemplating as we're trying to connect all of these different parts of the town?
And we do look at different surfaces for different purposes. Anytime we get into ADA, concrete is typically the best. Anytime you're trying to access or have wheelchair people of different mobilities, on a motorized cart or anything else, concrete typically ends up being the best. Long-term lasts. Obviously, in other trail areas, we have stone dust, we have mulch, we have many other surfaces on other trails. But if we're typically talking a sidewalk to accommodate people of all abilities, concrete is traditionally been the best.
How about asphalt, Mark? I mean, we have an asphalt plant in town, and I know it doesn't hold up as
do. When we have some asphalt sidewalks along Whalen Road, we've just found that they don't last as long. You got to seal them. There's a lot more maintenance. Concrete sidewalks go in, they're one and done. There is no real maintenance for them other than minor cracks and replacement long term.
I'm sure you've done some kind of cost-benefit analysis and all of that. And
we've gone through before. We've looked at anecdotally and on our operations that throughout town and how they've held up.
So I also wanted to ask about the Monroe County grant that came out last June that the other gentleman asked about. Did we actually put an application in, and did we get any money?
We have not as of yet, but we are intending to apply for that, and that will likely factor into where the board looks at this year. If obviously we can extend and stretch our tax dollar further, and we can put more sidewalks in, the better.
I think I heard $75 a linear foot for concrete. sidewalk?
That's about what we approximate, based on grading, stuff that goes around it. That doesn't account for trees, that doesn't account for drainage improvements, so each site's a little bit different. Obviously, we have to take trees down, we've got to do, add a culvert, catch basin, any sort of drainage improvements, obviously that increase the cost, but just, that's for a 5-foot wide sidewalk, you're walking pretty much $75 every foot you're going, so you can see the cost add up quickly.
It absolutely does. I mean, $200K at $75 a linear foot really doesn't go very far. What, you get just over a half a mile or?
It's about where we...
Okay, so those are my questions, and I guess just to make sure we're current on what we're all dealing with here. I've been to a number of presentations recently. The Parks and Rec Advisory Board's done a tremendous job of offering some visions of the future of what we could be doing. But one of the things I keep hearing about is making connections. So that's why the sidewalks kind of come into the conversation. But first of all, I just applaud the effort because, as you can see, a number of us care about that. But I'm going to take you back to something that pretty close to my heart. So again, I did the bicycle master plan with the town back in 2007 and 8. Debbie Draw had asked me to do it with you folks. And one of the clear recommendations that came out of there that's never been acted upon, in fact, it's on page 28, I believe, talks about widening the sidewalks in selected areas. Because safety being a big issue, I mean, sidewalks are not just for walkers. And I know we have an open question about ordinance around anything other than walkers on sidewalks. Mark, we talked about that not too long ago, correct?
Yep.
So that needs to come back into the conversation. But one of the big ideas that we had in this master plan was in selected areas was to widen the sidewalks to 10 feet. Other communities have done it. It facilitates things like the bike bus. Yesterday, I rode my bike down to Penfield High School, and I was pleasantly surprised to see how many bicycles there were around the school. Now, they have 2 old rusted bike racks out in the field there, but there were ones leaning against trees, leaning against the building, et cetera. And they have 2 great examples there of what I'm talking about. The path from the rec center on Baird Road that connects back to the high school, and then the sidewalk, path, multi-use trail that goes right along High School Drive. So the big idea was, let's contemplate connecting a few things like Rothfuss Park, Bay Trail Schools, Shadow Pines, with, in those selected areas, with a wider sidewalk, or whatever we decide to call it, help people get off the street, get out of their cars. We're such a car-centric community. I'm not saying building and the way will come, but other communities have done it with great success. And if we could, again, prioritize a few areas around the parks and schools, I kind of think that it would get good use. And I have one very specific request, Shadow Pines. There's no way to easily enter the south part of the park. All that truck traffic in and out of the distribution center and quarry, it's crazy. I've done it 100 times. I hate it. But we do have good wide shoulders in a number of places throughout the town, especially north and south. But the particular request would be from 5 Mile Line Road along the south side of Wayland by the Heritage Christian, Shadow Pines, Episcopal Church, go right into the parking lot where the old barn is there. So that, again, you'd have a way for people to enter the park however they go, not in a car, but on a bicycle, walking, whatever, however they're trying to get there, but make that connection into the south side of Shadow Pines. Let's see. So I'm now a member of Color Penfield Green, and one of the subcommittees we've created is Walk Bike. Again, there's a number of people that have recognized the opportunity to maybe teach our kids not to be as car-centric going forward. And one of the ideas that we've come up with is a bike bus. And I won't go into great detail, but basically it's getting a group of people together, mainly kids, with adults, front and back, and they go as a group to, say, school or some destination. So again, I always come back to safety and facilities. How can we enable that behavior? And again, widening the sidewalks in selected areas just kind of makes sense to me. So I'd like to offer that as something for you folks to consider. And that's pretty much it. So I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Tim, did you have a list of those recommended wider sidewalks from when you worked on that?
So Bob, I'll point you to the master plan.
Okay.
You folks have it on the website. Again, it was page 28 was the recommendation. I have it here if you'd like me to leave it with you.
Nope, I'll look it up.
Yeah, but it's something that we talked about, we got excited about for a long time. I remember talking to Mark even years ago. It never happened, but the time might be better and right now.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Tim, I know you got a large bandwidth, but we need to talk about supporting seniors, because we talked about that briefly, and I haven't forgotten, so poke me on that,
Anytime,
please.
Jeff. You tell me
Awesome.
you're the busy guy, I'm retired.
You're pretty busy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Valentine, to the earlier point, can we, in advance of the next work session, have an updated spreadsheet for accounting for the requests from tonight? I just want to make sure that the both requests for and/or against are reflected in the project list for consideration, as well as any other requests on page 8 of the master plan, so that we have all the information consolidated.
Sure.
Thank you.
Ruth Marchetti.
Hi, Ruth.
Bob,
Good, how are you?
my neighbor.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm Ruth Marchetti, 227 Henderson Drive, Penfield. So I also am a member of Color Penfield Green, and the Walk Bike Group met recently to consider the list that you presented, and we do appreciate the work that's being done to be connecting all the different sections of sidewalk that are around town, but we're hoping that you will prioritize areas that make it safer for children and other adults, other people, to get to both schools and recreation areas. Of the list that you had, if you are able to access additional funds, so we really did like the 5 Mile Line Road ones on the list, at the top of the list, and the Willow Pond Way, but we would also encourage you to include the 2 Hatch Road sections that are on the lower section of the list, because that would help students access Plank Road School. Okay. So that would make it much easier for people in those neighborhoods for their children to be able to walk and/or bike to school and access recreation areas there. So those would be good. The other one is the Fairport 9 Mile Road YMCA connection, for the same reason. There are so many people trying to access that recreation facility, and the easier that you can make that, the better that would be. We also have great concerns about some other areas in the town that where it's really not safe to walk. The connectivity of, say, Penfield Farms East down on 441, and I know there's access. I think Tim has worked that out, that there's access from there down to Panorama that doesn't go along 441, but it's not all paved and it's not all connected. If that could be looked into, it just is never safe to be walking along that 441 section to try and get down there. So I just appreciate the work that you've done and encourage you to continue to do that. One little aside that I'll put in, and it wouldn't be the town department, but maybe if you can ever work with Wegmans, I walk to Wegmans sometimes, or I ride my bike, and I come across at that Harris Hill intersection. But I've noticed that none of the Wegmans are set up in the expectation of there being pedestrians. I mean, it's fine if the weather's nice, you can cut across the grass, but in the winter, when the snow's piled up, you have no choice but to walk in on the road, which really isn't safe. And I bet where the cars enter.
Yes, and I bet if Wegmans were even aware of that, but I think they're just not thinking in terms of pedestrians. It just would be a short section of sidewalk that gets you into the parking lot. Because there are a fair number of people that do that.
For sure.
I'm not alone in that.
Absolutely.
So, just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Should I leave my list?
Sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Please.
I can take.
Thanks, Ruth.
Okay, I don't have anyone else signed up.
Okay. Moving right along, we'll move on to the public participation section of the agenda. And anybody that's signed up, I'll let Amy read off names. And if anybody hasn't signed up, you can certainly have time to speak.
Okay, our first one is Dave Woodward.
Hey, Dave.
Dave Woodward, 1530 Harris Road, President of the East Penfield Homeowners Association. First, I'd like to thank the town board members that were able to meet, go to our potluck that we had, and the staff members, that gave us a lot of information and were receptive to most of the comments. And also to thank all the people that did bring donations for the food cupboard that, were also brought that evening. Next, it's been quite a while since the town had a public meeting in regards to the landfill site with like the county environmental services. It would be imperative, I think, that it's time probably again to do that, and also to include, what they plan on doing also with the adjoining site, to it, if they have any plans, for that. And I think if that could be done sometime during like the calendar school year, you get better attendance than you would when you go to the summer. So if that's something that the town could set up, I think that would be, ideal to do. Many people don't know that the East Penfield Homeowners was created in the 70s to oppose the siting of the landfill, which is currently on Kennedy Road. And the town is currently investigating a site for brush and highway supplies, and they did look at that property to the side of the landfill that the county owns, which currently, previously had been a farm field, but, is no longer being rented out by the county and likely probably will not be. Some people believe that the town board doesn't listen to the public outcry. However, they were instrumental back in the 70s in the closing of the landfill and keeping the county to their 5-year commitment to close it at that time. So it is something that the town, I think, they do listen, and I think people should be aware of that. So now the town has this issue of trying to find a site to put brush in their highway supplies due to the safety and room at the DPW site, at least temporarily, while a new building are erected. So where do they go? That's the million-dollar question. While many residents are upset with the possibility of the siting being on Kennedy Road, or what used to be farmland, whether we go without a site for brush, take it to High Acres or another town or some other site, people do have to try to look for a solution. It isn't just like the town boards, it's the community's job to offer information to this town board on what might be a solution to this, whether, at least on the short term and possibly long term. So with that, I hope that people that come tonight, do offer solutions rather than just, be negative on the proposed site that the town was first looking at. And I think it would be beneficial if we do all look for a solution together rather than just being negative on, the one item. So, thank you.
Dave, thanks. And again, I learned something. I had no idea that that's why the Northeast Homeowners Association was created, was to oppose the dump there. That's new to me. Thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks for all your comments. Okay.
Dan Kuhnman.
Hi, Dan.
Hello. Dan Kuhnman, 1829 Kennedy Road. First, I would like to start off by thanking Linda, Bob, and Kevin, who's not here, for showing up on Saturday night. Obviously, there's a lot of concern around the proposed brush drop-off site, and I extend an invitation to anybody else that would like to come to my home. A few board members took me up on that offer, walk the land and see how it will be impacted. I am directly east of the proposed site. My family and I will take the brunt of a lot of this, along with 2 of my other neighbors that are also present, but it impacts everybody else. And last evening, I had an opportunity to speak with the county legislator, and also spoke at the session last evening. So to say the lack of communication around it, it was stated the other evening, we were utterly surprised and enraged right away. I understand you were out of town. but I still haven't had an opportunity to speak with you directly. I have no less than 3 phone calls into you, so I welcome that opportunity soon.
Sure.
So I will share with you in part what I spoke to last evening, and I really hope that we come together and find an alternate solution. My intent is to have this proposed site at 1775 end, both at the county level and at the town level, and that there is no activity on that site. So I will walk into what I spoke to last evening. So I'm speaking this evening in regards to the IMA, the intermunicipal agreement between the County of Monroe and the Town of Penfield. I am requesting a permanent end to the proposed 1775 Kennedy Road brush drop-off site agreement. The IMA would allow the town of Penfield to use 7 acres of the now closed Gloria Drive landfill, in which the town of Penfield will temporarily relocate their brush drop-off site. The proposed site, which is county-owned property and was acquired through eminent domain due to contamination leakage from the landfill, is not a well-planned option and truly not temporary. Why is it not temporary? It was not factored into any of the Town of Penfield Department of Public Works site development and ultimately approved town plan. Thank you, Ms. Lee, for at least pointing that out. As shared in a recent community discussion with East Penfield residents, that 6 sites were reviewed, and this was the only viable site. Really? Most of Penfield around Atlantic Avenue and 5 Mile Line Road are under long-term development for parks, pickleball courts, and all these other wonderful things. Those long-term sites could be viable options. The current proposal is a 2-year IMA with 2 subsequent options to extend, each of 2 years. That puts it out to 6 years, with the option at that time to review and expand upon that further. That's at the county's discretion if you guys don't further extend the agreement. So I'm not really sure how any of this is really a temporary site, especially as, again, re-emphasizing there was no other plan to include it here at the Jackson Road DPW, and that, again, 6 sites were reviewed and this is the only viable solution. So there are other drop-off considerations that are really of concern, starting with number 1, environmental. As I have come to find out, the land is leaching beyond the main site. So what is the true contamination that the land and the neighbors are susceptible to? My good neighbors have informed me that there's a truck that pulls up on the landfill, if not nightly, almost every single night, to take off 6,000 plus gallons of plume, better known as contamination and sludge, and is processed at the Van Laer water treatment plant. Also of concern, dead trees, many which are diseased, will be ground up. Where are the pesticides that these trees have been soaking up from everybody's beautifully manicured lawns? Where is that going to go? Probably into the ground. If not, it's creating airborne particulates, and guess where that's going? Well, I can tell you where it's going. It's going into my neighborhood. Next is a concern, road millings used for roadway and site prep, is shared by a county highway rep, contains environmental contaminants. So is this really good? We're going to add more contamination to an already contaminated area. How about displacement of wildlife? Deer, coyote, fox, birds, all frequent visitors to my yard. Where are they going to go? How about the retention pond? How are you going to place that? I had to blast bedrock with a jackhammer that almost cost me my neighbor's relationship for weeks, trying to get through the bedrock just to put my driveway in.
I remember that.
Yeah. So now you're going to have, you're going to have to try to use dynamite. That already created a situation with one of the portions of the landfill. So those are just a couple of the environmental concerns. How about reduction in property values? You guys just raised my property value and my taxes that go along with it. Now you're going to stick right next to my house basically a debris collection area, because you can say it's going to be brush, but as soon as you guys close that gate, it's going to be tires, dishwashers, whatever else people don't want to dispose of properly is going to go there, because you know they're going to know it's county property, and I'm going to be happy to be a good steward, bring it over here so that you folks can then finally get rid of it in a proper manner. Besides that, you know, there's going to be an obscene amount of noise. This is a 5 to 6 day a week operation. You guys admitted it. Starts at 7:30 in the morning. It's going to run till 3:30. It's going to be trucks. It's going to be culvert pipes. It's going to be everything, making noise, ruining a very serene environment that my family invested in that property to build our lives around. There's going to be 1,100 feet of chain link fence, padlock gates, so on and so forth. I mean, where is it really going to end? How is this going to be manned? The truck's going to be running continuously. The poor guy's going to be baking out in the sunshine all day long. He's going to be running his truck, probably a diesel truck, probably not very environmental friendly, as I hear a lot of our green folks here are looking for some green options. I can go on and on about the town not communicating and so on and so forth, but I also know that there are people outside of the town of Penfield who are dropping their debris off and have chuckled and told me that they are using this current site. So how's it going to be monitored and all that? So, you know, what about the future? You know, I have done some research. My neighbors have done a tremendous amount of research. We've also come to find out that there's $5.5 million allocated to the Gloria Drive landfill improvements. This board, who took the lead under the SEQR portion of it, and please forgive me because I'm not an environmental expert, but deemed it as a class 2, type 2 action, which at that point, actions classified as type 2 under SEQR regulations have been determined to not significantly impact the environment and do not need further review. So why is there $500,000 allocated to a site that has no environmental concerns? In 2025, $500,000, 2026, $2.5 million, and in 2027, another $2.5 million. And why is there a contract under bid proposal 0703-20, leachate, sludge, and wastewater hauling if there are no environmental concerns? So I can go on and on. But is this an efficient use of taxpayer dollars? In 2023, Monroe County ranked 5th nationwide for effective property rate. So what does effective property rate mean? It is an average tax rate that the average tax rate for an individual or a corporate taxpayer to pay, meaning we are 5th overall, and it's not a very good number, on how much we take out of our own pockets to pay in taxes. So what is the long-term plan for this site? I really want to know, and I really feel that there's a lot of liability here with all the leakage that's going on. You're right up next to a federal identified wetlands, and I really think this is a short-sighted plan, temporary or not, because we know it's not temporary. We've been picking at both sides here. We know that there's something else coming. We don't know what it is. So in closing, we are concerned neighbors. We're concerned that the lack of transparency, the lack of communication in regards to not only the health of the landfill, but really what the intended site of Kennedy Road was, the 1775 Kennedy Road site. So just to let you know, the Kennedy Road neighbors have requested a FOIL for the site and have urged town and county representatives to further investigate the health of this landfill. We've contacted the DEC requesting a further impact analysis, requested expanded impact looking at the downgradient state and federal protected wetlands, and to create a review of the storm water pollution and preventative plan to address the huge impervious area being created. As of last evening, we have gained over 260 signatures opposed to this in less than 1 week, and this was a grassroots effort with many of the people that are sitting here in the room taking actions, going door to door. We have not even started the email blast and everything else that are going to come behind it. Facebook is a wonderful tool for certain things. This might be one of them. I do want to thank you because you've galvanized the community. You've made me very aware that I need to be more active within my own town. And contrary to what has been stated by others, we are kind of floored by this. There has been no communication coming from the East Penfield residents president in an email communication that this was even on a docket. And I guess this has been in plans for over a year. I realize you've just come into this position as others on the board, but lack of communication on a campaign that you stood on open communication, not acceptable. So in closing, my wife and I purchased a quiet plot of land from a farmer to raise our 2 children in an area where they could embrace the land, gain their curiosity, and have some breathing room. I grew up in a subdivision. I appreciated some breathing room. So I thought that would be great for my children. We feel this is being compensated through our recent discoveries, and we ask that the state, county, and town work to inform the residents, yes, your constituents, of the health of the landfill, remediate if less harm than leaving it in its current state, because we don't need any more pollutants. And we ask that you leave the area in a state more natural and unaltered than what it currently is. And thank you. And I'm willing to answer any questions. The invite is open. My wife touts my coffee, but that's debatable. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. I
I
appreciate
have
your
copies
comments.
of any of this if anyone needs.
Thank you.
Dan?
Could I please have those copies? Yes. Okay, John Proper.
Hello,
Hey, John.
Hi, John.
how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Tired.
Yeah.
My name is John Proper. I live with my beautiful wife at 1825 Kennedy Road. My next door neighbor is the Gloria Drive landfill. They say going a day or so without sleep is bad for your health. I'm sorry if I feel groggy, or I'm sorry if I seem groggy. I haven't slept in over a week. Thank you for slowing down on Kennedy Road. I strongly believe it's the wrong spot. In 1998, my wife Tracy and I decided to purchase a home at 1825 Kennedy Road in Penfield, New York, and fulfill our dreams of raising our 2 children in a rural setting. We saw no threat to our well-being regarding the landfill roughly 1,000 feet to the west of us. We were told that the Gloria Drive landfill was closed 25 years prior, no longer in use, and it will be tested for many years to come. Closed, tested, sounded safe to us, as our water hookup was Monroe County water, not a private well. Certainly testing meant we'd be notified if there was concerns. Having lived there 26+ years now, I have witnessed a few noticeable events. Event 1, early 2000s. I'm sorry, my memory isn't as good as it used to be. Located on the west border of the Gloria Drive landfill lies a beautiful family farm. They've provided our town food. Sweet corn, raspberries, blueberries. Beautiful, serene. I've never seen a farm so immaculate, actually. I believe it became part of a green space program, maybe 10 or 15 years. I'm not sure. It was my understanding at the time this program offered the landowner, farmer, the ability to continue farming this parcel, generating food for both mankind and animals as a source of income, as well as a considerable compensation in exchange for agreeing to reject the possibility of future development by not selling this parcel for development of any kind. What a great deal for us, my wife and I and my family. Not a bad deal for the farmer. We live in a town that cares for its residents, its rural image, and the planet. Event number 2, expansion of a main water line from Plank Road to Atlantic Ave. This project seemed to involve digging and placement of lengthy and large water mains, a good portion of it being placed along the east border of the Gloria Drive landfill, my neighbor. As that project progressed, digging along the east border of the landfill led to the discovery of chemicals, pollutants, leaching into another farmer's 76-acre parcel bordering the landfill on the east side. This result became an exercise of the Fifth Amendment, eminent domain. Took that parcel away between my family home and the Gloria Drive landfill from a farmer, his family farm, his source of income, no longer having the ability to lease his property for farming in exchange for fair market value. As I understand it, this farmer would rather have kept his farm had it not been spoiled with chemicals, pollutants leaching from the landfill. This deal did not seem as appealing as the other side of the landfill that had become green space and is farmed to this day. I sure hope that soil's safe. I ask you, the town of Penfield in Monroe County, is the soil safe on either side? Show me the proof. Was the reason for green space on the side of this leaking landfill to ensure the Penfield rural image or to stop development, as digging may reveal poor results? Was eminent domain more cost-effective than green space for the east side of the landfill? We, the people, demand that green space permanently be placed on the county-owned parcel east of the Gloria Drive landfill, only after providing factual evidence the area is safe, not only for the people of Penfield, but the people of the planet. I realize your administration wasn't there for the cause. You're here now for the effect, Jeff. Zone this parcel green space. Sleep well tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope you sleep well, too. Great job. Amy?
Richard Burma.
Hey, Rich. Nice to finally meet you.
Yep, likewise. And I want to thank everybody for reaching out and coming and walking my yard, and those that did. I live at 1805 Kennedy Road. My name is Richard Birma. I live there with my wife, Jewel. We've been there for 38 years, and we live on the old Matt Kaninsky property that abuts the landfill. And in 2015 is when the county took that property from him to provide a buffer zone. Sounded good, but I was worried with the county there and how they love to put up fences, that I would have fences on 3 sides of my little 1-acre yard. Well, nothing's happened since then, and they told me that nothing would ever happen. They told me that it was just a buffer zone and they had no plans to develop that area. So don't worry about a fence, because I would look like I was in a prison compound if I had a chain link fence around my yard. And so, you know, we've enjoyed Kennedy Road. It's interesting, and I love the thoughts about biking. I'm a big biker myself, and Kennedy Road, if you haven't been on there lately, you would probably have to dodge bicycles constantly. They park here, they take Penfield Center Road to Kennedy Road, and then they go out in Wayne County because of the less traffic, obviously. So that is the route for major number of bikers. There's 20, 30 bikers every night or more after work. So it is a road that's definitely a biking corridor, and that's one of the issues with having this proposed site there too, is because there's going to be increased truck traffic. And I know it's been said it's just a local drop-off for our residents. Unfortunately, that's not true because of what we heard the other night. If the big town trucks have to come down there to get their materials, because there's not any room over here anymore, they're going to be coming down that road. And it's a narrow road. It's got a blind hill on it. It's going to be an issue for traffic, for bicyclers especially. And you know, as people know, there's no sidewalks out there, so we all walk on the road. We have Theravet down the road, and people walk there constantly. They're taking their dogs out because they've had surgery or whatever, so they're back and forth with all those dogs on the road. So traffic is it's not really convenient for big trucks to be coming down there and not cause a dangerous situation. I think my neighbors have overwhelmingly expressed the other concerns relative to the landfill. You know, I've lived next to it, and early on, you could smell it in the vents and everything, but it's quieted down, and the farm has taken about 8 years to return to natural state because of, you know, all the Roundup used on farmland and stuff. So it's just turning over, and it's become a bluebird heaven. It's just amazing the amount of bluebirds, and as the grasses and everything grow. The other thing that came out in our conversations on last Saturday night and talking to the fire department, that they hadn't been informed that this was going in. And they have concerns because there can be ignition sources and out in this proposed area, and it's 75 acres of grass, basically dry grass. And if that took off, and they have no way of fighting it. I mean, they were trying to get back behind my house, basically, and I don't know if a retention pond would provide enough water to fight a fire that could possibly be very large back there. And just people, you know, with brush, people still smoke. People put out their cigarettes on the ground, whatever. And it's not an uncommon thing if you research it around the country that there are fires in these type of facilities because of all the brush. And so those are other concerns around that. And I would, again, like John has said, I really think that it would be well to figure out how to get this to be a protected green space. And then if, you know, if there are problems that are found further at the landfill, it's not going to, you know, impact any other things to be out there and digging up and whatever they have to do. So I want to thank everybody, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Kara Veeder.
Hi, Kara.
Hi, I'm Kara Veeder. I live at 1698 Kennedy Road. I came in tonight not sure if I was going to speak or not, so I started taking notes in my notebook, and they were angry. And then I realized I was writing in a Ted Lasso notebook. And I don't know if you've seen Ted Lasso, but he tries to be really positive, so I changed some words. And I don't even think I'm going to read from it. I have emailed all of you, and so you know where I stand on the Kennedy Road brush dump project. I think that I'll get to what I think the solutions are or possibly could be at the end. I think the reason that there is such a public outcry against this has to do with short-sightedness, and I think it probably started a long time ago, before any of you might have even been here. Somebody said you're here now to provide the solution for a problem you likely weren't here to create, but here we are, right? I think considering, let's start with the new plan for the Department of Public Works. We learned on Saturday night that it's a $31 million project that we're hoping to do for $30 million, and we saw these beautiful renderings. And when I asked, well, where's the brush dump area on these renderings, they said, well, it's not possible to do it there. So that feels like short-sightedness. Well, why not? I mean, let's send it back. If you can't add a kitchen and I need a kitchen, you're not the architect I'm hiring for the job, right? It hasn't been developed yet. It's still in negotiations for the money to figure out how much it's going to come in at. Maybe there's a way to add it there. Maybe it means less kennel space for the dogs. I'm a dog lover. People that know me know this. I rescued a dog this year and brought him called animal control because it was a Sunday night and he wasn't good with other dogs and a million other reasons. And the dog went to the little place right near, blanking, but where the animal control place is, right over there. I think, is it John Jackson Road?
Jackson Road.
Thank you. Jackson Road, and it was a room. And I met a very nice man who said, oh, very nice dog. She'll go in this cage until I can get her to another place. So maybe dogs, maybe there aren't that many dogs that actually go to Penfield. Maybe they usually go to Lollipop or some other, I'm not sure, but maybe there's some other amendment that can be made in this proposal for this beautiful building that, I don't know, maybe we need it, maybe we don't, I have no idea, this isn't my job, but maybe we could figure out where to do a brush dump there so that it doesn't come next to the landfill across from my child and their children and our animals and our lungs. It feels like a terrible idea. So when I think, I go, okay, well, that was a moment of short-sightedness that maybe didn't need to be. And then I think, okay, well, then we are looking for places around town, and Kennedy Road, 1775 Kennedy Road comes up and is an option. And nobody says, well, let's talk to the people on Kennedy Road. Let's get feedback. This is a good idea. This might be a good place. Maybe they would love this. Maybe they would hate this. Let's ask. That doesn't happen. So that felt like another moment of short-sightedness, that we weren't notified by anybody, not by the homeowners association, not by word on the street, not by anybody. So when it finally caught wind to us, and you're probably wondering why we have ignited like a wildfire, it felt really like it was being done intentionally, leaving us out of the conversation. Maybe it was, it probably wasn't, but here we are, and I don't think it's a good idea to have this situation approximate a landfill, as has been said. I mean, I don't need to keep repeating all the same things, but it does seem like a really terrible idea for the wildlife, for the humans, for the planet, for the soil, for the land, for the town. And people say that our road, we have bikers after work. We have bikers all the time. We have bikers in the morning. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool my daughter. We have bikers constantly. We have horse-drawn carriages every single day, multiple times a day that pass my house. It's a joy. It's one of the highlights of every day. I love it. It started today. And I was like, yes, it's that time of year. I don't know how that approximates with, I loved Frank's idea about sidewalks. He gave all kinds of good information, and all I could picture was, oh, tick-infested honeysuckle. I know where it's going to go. It's going to go to the brush dump. And guess who's going to deal with it? Not the people that are walking the sidewalks in the cul-de-sacs of the new developments, the people who bought their houses 50 years ago. I have a neighbor that lives on that road. She was born in that house 91 years ago. And she called me. She said, please say something good. Say something good at the meeting because I can't go. But this is my home. This is my street. What's going to happen? So people are scared. And we don't want to be scared. That's not why we moved to the country. That's not why we moved out of, cul-de-sacs and out of the city and into a place without sidewalks, with green space and backyards and fields and different ecosystems, So I think the overwhelming thing is short-sightedness. And the good news is that the solution to short-sightedness is forethought, right? And looking ahead and planning for the future, which is what we're here to do, So you inherited a problem perhaps, and now you can be part of a solution if you choose to be part of a solution. And that's what we plan to do, right? We're not trying to come in here guns a-blazing. I'm not. I'm trying to go like, I'm mad, yeah. And I think, the council members who came to our Saturday night meeting, and thank you for those of you that came, were surprised by how much energy was in that room, you know? But we want to have the beautiful life that we've all worked hard, paid hard, and continue to enjoy every day in a rural setting. I mean, I sat outside on Sunday morning early because I had house guests and I needed to get out of the house, and with my dogs, and I was just listening, and I was like, I should write down how many bird songs I hear. And I stopped after 17. And then I realized, oh, I can hear the church bells from Plank Road, the Bethlehem Lutheran Church. I can hear those church bells. And I thought, guess what those people are going to hear? Grinding machines and trucks. And that's not why we live out in the middle of a place that feels like the country, but kind of isn't, because we can get to Wegmans in 10 minutes, you know? And so I just want to kind of like say, we can meet this with like, you know, a new idea. You know, maybe we change the plan for the Department of Public Works. I'm sure that feels very off the table because, whew, but maybe it's not that big of a deal, you know? I don't know, but that could be a solution. And I agree that making this forever wild, I don't know what all goes into that, but I'm going to learn about it because that feels right to me. Like, hasn't the land been tortured enough? Haven't the people on Kennedy Road dealt with enough? We have a landfill, we have a solar field. I'm happy it's green. Everybody loves solar. That's awesome. Most people don't walk out and look at a giant field with a chain link fence with solar panels behind it, but we have that too. And I think if a brush dump is that important for Penfield residents, maybe residents in a cul-de-sac can have it at their backyard instead of out where we live for the peace and quiet, you know? So I think there's ways to be forward thinking. I think there's ways to make amends for mistakes that happened that may or may not have been yours. But I definitely think Kennedy Road is absolutely the wrong site for this. And it would be really nice if it could not be postponed. And I appreciate the postponement. I don't speak for the group, just for myself. But I appreciate that it was taken off the docket at the county and that it was taken off for tonight. But it would be even better to hear, we're not doing it. We agree. It's the wrong site, and we're going to find another place maybe or a different plan. But but it's not happening here, and we're moving steps to make this permanent, forever wild. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's all I have that
Okay.
signed up.
Yeah, does anybody else want to say anything tonight? Yeah, go ahead, Tim. Come ahead.
While Mr. Murphy is making his way up, if I can just comment briefly, I do want to let folks know that in addition to what you've said, for all of the responses, even if you did not get individual responses from all of us board members, we have been reading them all, and we are logging what you're saying, and I've been studying them and understanding, like, you know, I off the top of my head, like, I think, Mr. Bierma, you said you've lived in the house 38 years. It's a 200-year-old home that you've been improving on your own with your family. Like, we are really taking your feedback into consideration and understanding your concerns and really digesting them. So I want everyone to understand that. And I know you want some affirmation tonight. We're not able to give that to you tonight as it's just public feedback, but I want you to understand and know that everything that you're sharing or writing is being read and seriously considered. And we're not here to make your lives miserable. Okay, and so I do want you to take some assurance in that. And I did also want to say Councilperson Barry is traveling for work today, but he is also listening to all of the comments right now via audio. So everything that you're saying and sharing, all 5 board members are hearing at the same time, all together at once. Nobody has to be debriefed and summarized and watered down. We're all hearing it in real time.
Thanks, Candace. I have some comments, but I'll let you go first, Tim. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll be real brief. Tim Murphy, 48 Corral Drive. One observation and one idea. The observation is I'm a big cyclist, and yes, Kennedy Road is a major thoroughfare for most of us. East Penfield and east of 250 is just a jewel for cyclists. So I hadn't put that together in my head until I heard all these conversations, but I echo the sentiment. It's again, if you do what I do, that's one of the places you should go. Second, the idea, and I don't know if you've thought about this, when you mentioned you've considered 5 or 6 other places, but what about the quarry? The quarry, I mean, the Dolomite Quarry is central location. They use heavy equipment. They've partnered, like I know with Monroe County, the bomb squad's done work out there. I mean, I don't know where that could go, but it just seems to me that if you haven't considered it, you should.
I'm smiling because it never crossed my mind, so that's good, Tim.
I mean, it just seems like they don't have a lot of time left in mining new materials. I know they're mostly using it as a distribution center. I mean, they've admitted that. But again, they might be a willing partner to use a small part of their deep pit with rock to do this intermediate work that you're looking for.
And my brother-in-law's on the RPD bomb squad, so I'll say, why didn't you tell me that?
I mean, I know for sure they've used it before. So again, they might be open to that kind of partnership. So if you approach them in some way that says, hey, if we can use some of your property to do what you need to do.
Yeah. Well, that's what we want to hear as ideas.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. I just want to reiterate for a minute what Candace said, and I kind of joked with Rich, and maybe it's not a good joke, good or bad, whether I was gone last week. I really believe this town board has the town's best interests, and we're trying to work hard and get up to speed. There's a lot going on, and I'm not making excuses that I started January as a couple of new town board members. We've had a lot of changes in a few years. I think I'm the fourth supervisor in 3 years or so. But as town supervisor, as board members, we own it, and I take responsibility, in a sense, what's happened in the past and what's going forward. I wish I could, back up the clock and make sure everybody knew that was going on, and everybody was blown away, and so was I, honestly. And it's the truth. I can't change that. I'm sorry. But we've absolutely, hopefully we responded to all your emails and calls, and I'm happy to meet with any. After getting home, I had to get through the eclipse. We didn't know what was going to happen. Now I'm through the eclipse, and I'm welcome to sit down with everyone after tonight, when our times, and we could still do a walk and all that stuff if you'd like. So anyway, I really appreciate your participation. I think this is what we want from the community, to be organized in neighborhoods. And I joked with somebody, I've always had this in my head, and it's kind of a bad example, but when my kids were little, if my whole street would organize buying diapers and toilet paper together, we'd save some money. And it's true with plowing and everything else, but it also, if you get a point person to, know what's going on with the town, that person could be a voice. So in some ways, this is a real blessing, the way this turned out, and the timing was good. It stopped the county vote, stopped our vote, and now we've got the input, and we're going to take more. And I may have said it to someone this morning, whatever questions you haven't been answered, we'll get them answered. I don't have all the answers, but we'll figure it out through the FOIL process or whatever. So anyway, thank you. Appreciate it.
If I can ask other members of the board or Mr. Weishar, has any of you received the petition that was referenced by Mr. Kuhnman?
So I have the petition, and I was going to mention it during that part of the agenda, but if you prefer me to read it now, I can.
Well, we have some board decisions. I don't want to keep everyone. We could do
keep
that.
in the order of the agenda.
I just want to make sure we have receipt of it now that it's been indicated. We have receipt of it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Next item is addition and deletions to the agenda. I'd like to reiterate 2014-91 has been withdrawn. So we need to move to approval of the minutes. Everybody get a chance to...
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call vote, please, Amy.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes.
All right.
Can we just pause a moment?
Yeah, no.
I think folks are leaving now. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
If you want to step out now, now's a good time. Thank you. Drive safely.
Give them a minute, and we'll move on to the petition.
And we had no one on the phone. No phone?
No.
Okay.
Brian, I'm not missing anything, am I? Okay.
Yeah, he's good.
All right, Amy. Yeah.
All right, so I did receive the petition with 200 signatures. The proposal is the residents of the Kennedy Road neighborhood, part of East Penfield, New York, respectfully request the town of Penfield to reconsider the location of the brush drop-off center site proposed at 1775 Kennedy Road in Webster in the town of Penfield. I will be, tomorrow morning, I will scan this document, and I will send it to all board members and to our town attorney.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to resolutions by function. We'll begin with the resolutions with Law and Finance. Madam Clerk, please.
Awarding bid for television playback and automation equipment.
Moved as written.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, next one, Amy.
Expansion of the Energy and Environmental Conservation Committee, EECC.
Moved as written.
Second.
This resolution proposes to expand the Environmental and Energy and Environmental Conservation Committee to a max of 9 resident members. We're doing this in response to the demands and workload of existing members to increase their efficiency in what they can take on. The town and its growing efforts for sustainability and clean energy have increased the number of review for energy and environmental initiatives for the town, and so we'd like to make that committee a bit more robust to assist in those endeavors.
And I think, after some of what we heard tonight, I think this is a smart move for us to increase membership there, to get some additional expertise in. So I'm glad we're doing this.
Absolutely. Okay, did we vote? I may have forgotten.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement to allow a fence within a sewer easement at 202 Milford Crossing.
Moved as written.
Second. Roll call vote.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes. Renaming of the town hunting map to the firearm discharge map.
Moved as written.
Second. Sorry.
This resolution proposes to update only the name of this map. It would be changing the it would be changing the name from hunting map to the firearm discharge map in an effort to avoid further confusion, since hunting is regulated by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and not the town of Penfield.
Thank you.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Second on that one.
Yeah, the second was. Authorization to attend Niagara School, known as the New York State Association of Local Government Records Officers.
Moved as written.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes. Setting a public hearing to consider a proposed local law to amend the town of Penfield's official zoning map.
Moved as written.
Second.
Roll call vote. Amy?
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhout?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes. Setting a public hearing to consider a proposed local law to amend Town Code Section 250-5.10 in the Four Corners District.
Moved as written.
Second. Vote, please.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhout?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes. Setting a public hearing to consider a proposed local law to establish a moratorium on future applications for non-residential solar applications.
Moved as written.
Second.
Vote, please.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
4 ayes. Budget amendment to the sanitary sewer operations account.
Moved as written.
Second. Vote, please, Amy.
Lee.
Aye.
Leenhouts.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Teglash.
Aye.
4 ayes. Budget amendment to the parks maintenance account.
Moved as written.
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Ms. Steckloff.
Lee.
Aye.
Leenhouts.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Teglash.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to lease land for agricultural purposes.
Moved as written.
Second.
This resolution would allow the town of Penfield to continue leasing land at 107 Plank Road to B&M Farms for agricultural purposes. The town has continued to lease this land for such purposes since 2019.
Okay.
Lee.
Aye.
Leenhouts.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Teglash.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement to allow a generator within a sewer easement at 1394 Creek Street.
Moved as written.
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Amy.
Lee.
Aye.
Leenhouts.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Teglash.
Aye.
4 ayes. Number 91, as Supervisor Leenhouts mentioned, has been withdrawn. Number 92, authorization to auction surplus equipment on May 7th, 2024 at the Spring Municipal Net Auction.
Moved as written.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Lee.
Aye.
Leenhouts.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Teglash.
Aye.
4 ayes. Awarding contract for printing program brochures.
Moved as written.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
I just want to
Yeah.
comment that this is for our Pen Rec program that we get each spring, and in the fall and in the winter, and I know this is a well-received program, and that's what this contract is for.
Lee.
Aye.
Leenhouts.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Teglash.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
Moved as written.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Lee.
Aye.
Leenhouts.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Teglash.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay. Any other comments? Any discussion at all? Any old business? Any new business? Yeah.
I'll just mention
Please.
that I did receive a printout from one of our speakers today, copies, so I will be passing that out. It's from Dan Kuhnman.
Okay, thank you. All right, no new business, no old business, no executive session. Anything I'm missing, Town Board?
Very good.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Our next Town Board meeting is May 1st, 2024. I call this meeting adjourned at 8:17 p.m. Thank you. Good night.